I stared at my phone screen, unable to look away from the photos flooding my Facebook feed. There they were, my in-laws, my husband's siblings, their kids, even distant cousins, all smiling on a pristine white beach in Florida. The matching family t-shirts they wore made my stomach turn. Anderson Family Beach Trip 2024. Apparently, being in Anderson for the past 8 years wasn't enough to earn an invitation. Too difficult to plan around, my mother-in-law had told others when asked about our absence. Between Emma's soccer practice and Lucy's dance recitals, they're just too high maintenance. The irony? Both activities had ended weeks ago. My name is Kate Anderson, and at 34, I've spent nearly a decade trying to fit into my husband's family's idea of perfect. Mike, my husband, was at work when I discovered the secret vacation, probably unaware that his entire family was living it up in Florida without us. I scroll through more photos. My nieces building sandcastles, family dinners at oceanfront restaurants, sunset cruises where everyone raised their glasses in celebration. Each image felt like a deliberate reminder of our exclusion. Our daughters, Emma, 8, and Lucy, 6, would have loved every minute of it. The group chat I wasn't supposed to see, accidentally shared by my teenage niece, revealed the truth. They'd been planning this for months. My mother-in-law, Sandra, had orchestrated everything, making sure to schedule around everyone's commitments, everyone except us. "We can't risk Kate making everything complicated again," she'd written. "Remember last Christmas when she insisted on leaving early because Lucy wasn't feeling well? Or Easter when Emma had a soccer tournament? It's easier this way." I put my phone down and walked to our living room window. Outside, Emma and Lucy played in the sprinkler, their laughter carrying through the glass. They had no idea their cousins, whom they adored, were making memories without them. The front door opened and Mike walked in, loosening his tie. One look at my face, and he knew something was wrong. "Kate, what happened?" I handed him my phone. His expression darkened as he scrolled through the photos. "They didn't. Mom promised she'd stop doing this." "Doing what?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. This wasn't the first time Sandra had organized family events without us. There was last year's Christmas brunch we'd only learned about through photos. The 4th of July barbecue we'd been forgotten to be invited to. Each time there was some excuse. Miscommunication, or the assumption that we'd be too busy. Mike ran a hand through his hair, a habit he'd had since childhood. "I'll call Mom right now. This isn't okay." "Don't," I said, surprising myself with how calm I felt. "I have a better idea." For years, I tried to accommodate Sandra's demands, rearranging our schedule, apologizing for imagined offenses, trying to prove we weren't the difficult ones she claimed we were. But as I watched my girls playing outside, blissfully unaware of their grandmother's manipulations, something shifted inside me. I picked up my phone and started making calls, first to my sister, then to my best friend Sarah, and finally to my parents. Within an hour, I had a plan. "What are you doing?" Mike asked, watching me book flights on my laptop. "Planning our own vacation," I replied. "One that doesn't require your mother's approval." My sister had a beach house in North Carolina she rarely used. My parents were eager to spend time with their granddaughters. Sarah and her kids were always up for an adventure. Within days, we had our own family trip planned, one filled with people who actually wanted us around. 3 days into the Anderson family vacation, Sandra's carefully curated Facebook posts started showing cracks. Photos of empty chairs at family dinners. Posts about how some people were missing from their traditional beach games. My nieces and nephews commenting that they missed playing with Emma and Lucy. That's when the texts started. First, from my sister-in-law Jenny. "The kids keep asking where Emma and Lucy are. Mom's having a hard time explaining." Then from Mike's brother Tom. "This doesn't feel right without you guys. Mom messed up." Finally from Sandra herself. "I hope you're not upset about the vacation. You know how busy you are with the girls' activities. We were just trying to make it easier for everyone." I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I posted our own photos. Emma and Lucy building sandcastles with their cousins from my side of the family, sunset picnics with people who celebrated our kids' activities instead of seeing them as inconveniences, family game nights where no one was labeled too difficult. Having the best time with family who love us exactly as we are. I captioned one photo. It wasn't petty. It was honest. The responses were immediate. Likes and comments poured in, many from extended Anderson family members who hadn't even known we'd been excluded. Sandra's carefully constructed narrative began to unravel. Why aren't Emma and Lucy here? My young niece had apparently asked during their fancy beach dinner. They're way more fun than this. The video of her question, accidentally posted by my sister-in-law and quickly deleted, spoke volumes. Mike supported me completely. Maybe it's time everyone saw Mom's behavior for what it is, he said, watching our girls chase waves with their cousins from my side of the family. We're not the problem here. As we sat on the beach that evening, watching the sunset with people who genuinely wanted to be with us, I realized something important. Sometimes the family you choose is more valuable than the family you're given. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't confrontation. It's living well with people who love you without conditions. Sandra's perfectly orchestrated beach vacation started falling apart on day 5. I knew because the frantic messages wouldn't stop coming, each one more desperate than the last. The kids are miserable, Jenny wrote. They keep watching Emma and Lucy's beach videos on repeat. Mom's trying to organize another family photo, but half the cousins are refusing unless all the family is here, Tom added. But it was the video my teenage niece Olivia accidentally shared in the family group chat that really captured the meltdown. In it, Sandra stood in their beachfront rental's kitchen, face flushed with frustration as my youngest niece, Madison, threw a spectacular tantrum. I want to play with Emma and Lucy, Madison screamed, her face tear-stained. Their vacation looks more fun. They have ice cream for breakfast. They didn't, of course, it was just frozen yogurt, but watching Sandra try to explain why excluding her other grandchildren was for the best made me realize how deep this problem ran. Meanwhile, our impromptu North Carolina beach trip was everything a family vacation should be. My parents taught the girls how to fly kites on the windy shore. Sarah's kids introduced Emma and Lucy to boogie boarding, leading to hours of delighted squeals as they rode the waves. No one complained when Lucy wanted to stop and examine every seashell or when Emma spent an hour building an elaborate sandcastle kingdom. This is how family should be, Mike said one evening, watching the sunset with his arm around me. The kids were having a dance party on the beach with my sister, their shadows long in the fading light. That's when Sandra called him. I could hear her voice through the speaker, high-pitched and anxious. Michael, this vacation is a disaster. The kids are impossible to handle. Tom and Jenny aren't speaking to each other, and your father's back is acting up. We need you here. Mike put the phone on speaker and squeezed my hand. No, Mom, what you need is to understand that family isn't about perfect photos and controlled chaos. It's about acceptance and love. Of course I love you, Sandra protested. That's why I planned this wonderful trip. For everyone except us, Mike interrupted. You excluded my wife and daughters because they don't fit your idea of perfect. Because Kate lets the girls be children instead of props in your perfect family portrait. The silence on the other end was deafening. But Kate's always so particular, Sandra finally said. The girls have so many activities and she insists on their routines. You mean she's a good mother? Mike's voice was firm. She supports our daughters' interests and makes sure they're healthy and happy. Yes, she does. And I'm grateful for it. I felt tears welling up in my eyes as Mike continued. Look at your perfect vacation, Mom. Is anyone actually having fun? Because from what I'm seeing and hearing, it looks like a carefully orchestrated photo shoot where everyone's miserable. As if on cue, we heard Madison's voice in the background. I hate this stupid beach. I want to go to Lucy and Emma's beach. Sandra sighed heavily. I just wanted to control everything, Mike finished. But you can't. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you might actually get to know your grandchildren for who they are, not who you want them to be. After he hung up, we sat in silence for a moment, watching the waves crash against the shore. The sound of children's laughter drifted over from where they were roasting marshmallows with my parents. You know she's going to make this about her, I said softly. She'll play the victim. Mike nodded. Probably. But for the first time, I don't care. Look at our girls, Kate. Look how happy they are with people who love them unconditionally. The next morning, my phone exploded with notifications. Sandra had posted a long, melodramatic message about family rifts and misunderstandings, carefully casting herself as the wounded matriarch. But the comments weren't quite what she expected. Couldn't help but notice half your grandchildren are missing from this perfect family vacation. one relative wrote. Those sweet girls and their mother deserve better, another added. Even Jenny broke ranks. Maybe if we'd included everyone from the start, this vacation wouldn't be such a disaster. By midday, Sandra's post was deleted, replaced by a carefully worded apology sent to our private messages. Perhaps I was too hasty in my planning, she wrote. We all miss you. But it was too late. We were making our own memories, creating our own traditions with people who saw us for who we were. Emma and Lucy were thriving, surrounded by love that didn't come with conditions or expectations. That evening, as we watched the girls perform a beachside talent show with their cousins, complete with seashell costumes and sandy choreography, Mike's phone buzzed with a text from his father. Your mother's realizing what she's lost, it read. The vacation ends tomorrow, but I think the real changes are just beginning. Mike showed me the message, then looked at our daughters, who were now taking elaborate bows while everyone cheered. Think we should give her another chance? He asked. I watched Lucy tackle her cousin in a hug while Emma directed everyone into a grand final pose. Maybe, I said. But on our terms this time, no more perfect family illusions. He nodded, understanding exactly what I meant. Because sometimes it takes losing something to realize its true value, and sometimes it takes standing your ground to earn genuine respect. The aftermath of the dueling beach vacations rippled through the family like waves hitting the shore. When we returned home, social media was flooded with two very different stories. Sandra's carefully curated photos of forced smiles and matching outfits, and our candid shots of genuine joy and messy, sandy adventures. Mom's not handling the comparison well, Jenny told Mike over coffee a week after everyone returned. She'd driven over specifically to talk about the family fallout. Everyone keeps asking why Emma and Lucy weren't there. She's running out of excuses. I was in the kitchen, pretending not to listen while making lunch for the girls, but I could hear the strain in Jenny's voice. You know what Madison did? She took all the family vacation photos off the fridge and replaced them with printouts from your beach trip. Said she wants to go to the fun beach next time. Mike's response was measured. Maybe that's exactly what Mom needs to see. The real turning point came during the monthly family dinner. Usually, these were held at Sandra's house, where she could control every detail. But this time, several family members coincidentally couldn't make it to her house, suggesting we meet at a restaurant instead. Sandra arrived last, her usually composed self showing slight cracks. Her eyes widened when she saw Emma and Lucy already settled in, showing their cousin seashells from our trip. Oh, she said, her voice tight. I didn't realize everyone was already here. We didn't want anyone to feel too difficult to plan around, I said quietly, just loud enough for her to hear. Her face flushed. Throughout dinner, she watched as her grandchildren gravitated toward Emma and Lucy, begging to hear stories about their beach adventures. Even the adults seemed more relaxed, sharing their own childhood beach trip memories. Remember when we used to just play in the sand for hours? Tom reminisced. No schedules, no matching outfits, just fun. Sandra sat silently, pushing food around her plate as her perfect family dynamic crumbled in the face of genuine connection. Finally, as dessert was being served, she spoke up. I may have made a mistake. The table fell quiet. Sandra Anderson didn't admit mistakes. The beach trip. I thought I was organizing the perfect family vacation. But looking at your photos, seeing how much fun you all had. She paused, uncharacteristically struggling for words. I realized perhaps I've been focusing on the wrong things. Emma, innocent and direct as only an 8-year-old can be, looked up from her ice cream. Does this mean we can all go to the fun beach together next time, Grandma? The tension broke. Several people laughed, and I saw tears in Sandra's eyes. I like that, she said softly. If your mother would help me plan it. And there it was, the closest thing to an olive branch we'd ever get from Sandra Anderson. Later that night, after the girls were in bed, Mike and I sat on our back porch, processing the evening's events. You know she's still going to try to control things, I said. Mike nodded. Probably, but now she knows she can't exclude us without consequences. And maybe, just maybe, she'll learn that imperfect moments can be the most perfect of all. The next morning, a text arrived from Sandra. Could we meet for coffee? Just us. I agreed, and 2 days later, I found myself sitting across from my mother-in-law at a local cafe. She looked different somehow, less rigid, more human. I've been looking at your beach photos every day, she admitted. Not because I'm angry, but because I see something in them I've been missing. Joy. Real, unscripted joy. She pulled out her phone, showing me a particular photo. Lucy mid-laugh, covered in sand, while Emma tried to bury her cousin's feet. Not a perfect photo by Sandra's usual standards, but absolutely perfect in its authenticity. I want to learn, she said simply. I want to be part of their lives, their real lives, not just the posed versions I've been trying to create. It wasn't a complete transformation. Sandra would always be Sandra. But it was a start, and sometimes that's all you need. A crack in the perfect facade, letting the real light shine through. The next family beach trip was already being planned, this time with everyone's input. And while Sandra still occasionally slipped into her old habits, she was trying. That's all any of us could ask for. Because in the end, family isn't about perfect photos or carefully orchestrated moments. It's about love, acceptance, and sometimes learning to let go of control to grab hold of something much more valuable, real connection. Emma and Lucy's seashell collection still sits on our mantle, each imperfect piece telling its own story of a vacation that changed everything. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real.